He said, pray as you see me pray. Utter these words that you hear me say. Based on the Sunnah, worship Him, just follow them.
Assalamu alaikum. New class coming to you every Monday and Wednesdays, taught by Ustad Layla Nashiba, the fiqh of prayer. Every Monday and Wednesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Inshallah, we'll see you there. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers.
Do today is go over some more of the rules of congregational prayer. And for you new shahadas, I have a couple of you who live in a couple of places in California. And you sisters asked me about the women praying with the men, standing in line with them. When you sisters asked me about that, I was kind of surprised. And then another masjid in California, the sisters pray directly behind the men. And then a couple of other of the new shahadas asked me, because you say you went to Salafi masjids, and they said that they have to be barriers and all of that. I'm going to answer that question today, which I've talked about it before, but today you're going to see the dalil. And I do understand that there is a fatwa that has been released here by the North American Fatwa Council, which is a bunch of garbage. It's a council of garbage, to be honest. I don't care. I'm just going to tell the truth. It's a council of garbage. But the North American Fatwa Council of America, whatever they call themselves, they represent Canada too, I think. They issued a fatwa, because you guys sent me a copy of it, whereas it says that there should be no barriers between the women and the men when praying, that the women can stand directly behind the men, because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam did not pray with a barrier. I read the fatwa. The fatwa is garbage. The Prophet Muhammad did have a barrier. And I'm going to give you guys a dalil as to what his barrier was. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the women did not pray head to butt with the men. Okay? So I wanted you guys to make sure that you take screenshots of all the hadiths that I put on screen tonight, because that's going to answer your questions. I don't make the laws. I don't make the rules. Just like the North American Fatwa Society, whatever they call themselves. By the way, I'm going to share some information with you guys, and I'll probably get in trouble, but I don't care. One of the people on that Fatwa committee is gay too. Oh, yeah. And he'll tell you, because he's got his own gay masjid. Yeah. That's what I think about the North American Gay Council, whatever they call themselves, North American Council, Fatwa, whatever they call themselves. You got one of those council members who's gay, LGBTQ.
Shima, is he gay, or does he just have, like, SSA?
Like I said, he's LGBTQ, and he has his own mosque. And he writes papers justifying being gay. He know who he is, because I know him personally too. All right. Islam is not based on no fatwa. And I'm going to show you guys that tonight. And like I tell y'all, y'all have to be careful who y'all take your knowledge from. We're living in some terrible, terrible times. These are the days of fitan that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam warned us against. These are the days in which Islam appears to be strange because of the way the Muslims have imitated the non-believers and twisted the rules and laws and around to accommodate society. Gender roles have been reversed. And I'm going to tell you why they put those type of fatwas out. This is what happens when you are a nonprofit organization in America. Oh yeah, I'm a licensed paralegal, so I'm going to run it down to you guys. When you are a nonprofit organization in America and you take donations from government sources, you are then subject to the laws of government. And government laws in America are there can be no discrimination. America really has EEO rights. You have to allow women to be on your board of directors. That's why a lot of these masajids have women in charge on their board of directors. A lot of these mosques got women imams too. Oh yeah, imamas. Okay, because you can't show disparate treatment if you want to get money from the federal government to fund your nonprofit. So they got women on the executive boards, women serving in positions of imamship, and you have to include LGBTQ. They know I'm speaking the truth. I'm a licensed paralegal. I deal with this stuff before I retire. You have to also include LGBTQ people on your committees. So those fatwas that these stupid committees put out, guys, do y'all think they fatwas are going to be in sync with Allah's laws and Allah's rules? Especially when they getting their money from the federal government. Get real. But we're going to talk about that today. I'm going to show y'all the truth. Did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam have a barrier between the women and the men? Or did the women and men pray side by side? Or did the women pray head to butt with the men? I'm going to give y'all the clear dalil tonight. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen and get started. Yeah, one of my, we were just talking about that. Me and another sister who's on, when you get money, this is a big problem. That's why you got to be careful getting money from the federal government for your nonprofit organization, because you got to include LGBTQ people. You have to include women. There can be no discrimination and disparate treatment. And that's why they're including these people on their stuff and in their communities. But let me put this PowerPoint up on the screen for everybody. Oh, what's wrong with this? Okay, beginning. Okay. I'm trying to make it so you guys in Zoom can see too. Can everybody see? People in Zoom too? Okay. Everybody can see this. So this is going to be our third and last session on congregational prayer. And before I get to the rules for tonight, I have a little quiz for you to cover what we discussed the other day. Let's see how many of you can answer these three. It's just 3 questions. First question: is it haram or is it forbidden to pray behind a person who is a known innovator or a person who is a known sinner ever? This question is, it is haram. Is it true or false? If I tell you that it's haram for you to ever pray behind a person that's known to be an innovator, or to ever pray behind a person that's known to be a sinner, Is this true or false? And I want you to give me the dalil, because we had the dalil last week for this. Go ahead. Who wants to answer?
I go with true.
Where's your evidence? What's your evidence? What hadith? Remember, this class is based on hadiths. Did we talk about this last week, guys? Who can remember? You guys are going to have to get these hadiths together. I'm telling y'all. Okay, Mina, you said false. You have some dalil? What's your dalil?
Yeah, I have dalil that one of the companions prayed behind a person who used to drink wine. And I have another hadith when the Prophet ﷺ was praying. One of the companions, I can't remember his name, but he spit, and he was. The Prophet said, "Do not pray behind him no more." But that was only because if you have an option to not pray, if he's leading a prayer, if you have an option, then do not. But he didn't say that you cannot do it. So those are my.
Exactly. I want you guys to remember the new shahadas. You all have to remember. And I know this is kind of hard for you guys to remember because you're not used to anybody teaching you from the hadiths like I'm doing. A lot of people teach about prayer. They teach the fiqh of prayer using a method. I'm not using any methods here. The only method we're using here is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we went over several hadiths last week. One hadith, Ibn Umar, he prayed behind a man, and they gave you the name and everything, who was a known heretic. He was a known heretic. Okay? But when it was time to pray, and this man was the leader of the prayer, Ibn Umar prayed behind him. Okay, then like she said, we have another hadith where another companion prayed behind a man. A man led the companions in prayer who was a known alcoholic. Okay, an alcoholic. And then the last hadith she gave is the one where as the prophet saw the people praying, and a man spit in the direction of the Qibla. And the prophet told the people afterwards, don't pray behind him anymore. Instead, go and pray behind somebody else. So like she said, prayer is an obligation. It has to be fulfilled. If the person who's leading you in prayer is an innovator or a sinner, that ain't got nothing to do with you. Your prayer is still accepted. Where does Allah say that we have to go and investigate people's background? You might go to a mosque. Ain't nobody perfect. All of us commit sins. I mean, come on, who's perfect? Okay? But if there is somebody that is known to be a heretic or a sinner, if there is an alternative, then you can do it. Take the alternative. But if not, and that's why before, right here at this website, one of you brothers, one of my new shahadas, you went to Dearborn, Michigan. And I remember you asked Sheikh Atlee. Remember when Sheikh Atlee was here? And y'all asked Sheikh Atlee, you said you went to a mosque to make your prayer, and you did not know that it was a Shiite mosque. But you went on ahead and did your prayer. And I remember Sheikh Atlee told you, he said, don't worry about it. And that's what he meant when he said, don't worry about it. You didn't know. You went and made your prayer and you kept it moving. Okay, but if we can avoid it, try to avoid it. But in your case, you didn't know. Okay, and like you said, so, does it invalidate the fact that that man is leading you in prayer and he drinks alcohol, he smokes cigarettes? Does that invalidate your prayer? No. It didn't invalidate Ibn Umar's. It didn't invalidate, I think it was Ibn Abbas too. It was a bunch of companions. Okay. So we have to be careful what we say about this religion. We have to look to see what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said and also look to see how the companions understood what he said to be. And that's why we went over those hadiths last week. And all those hadiths were authentic, every single one. Y'all have to remember these hadiths, because you're going to come upon Muslims that's going to tell you that it's haram for you to pray with that person because that person smokes cigarettes. Or you're going to come upon a Muslim that tells you it's haram. By the way, is it haram to pray with your shoes on? Yes or no? Is it?
No.
Exactly. And what if the imam has shoes on? Can you pray behind him?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can. But you're going to come upon a lot of Muslims that's going to tell you that it's haram to pray in your shoes. The Prophet Muhammad prayed in his shoes all the time. Subhanallah. They live in the desert. They didn't have carpet. The sand was hot. Okay? They didn't walk around barefoot. Subhanallah. That sand will burn the heck out your feet. All right? But you'll find Muslims that tell you that it's haram, or because that imam has a pair of shoes on, he can't lead you in prayer. So be careful. Islam is only based on two sources, the Quran and the authentic hadiths. And when you are confused, you look to see what the companion said. Okay? And Allah knows best. Okay, what about this question? Next one. I think I only gave y'all 3. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Is this it? Yeah. You complete the prayer behind the imam. And after you guys are done praying, a brother comes into the mosque late and he asks you, will you pray with him? What do you do? And why? Who wants to answer that? You just finished praying with the imam. You're getting ready to leave, and a brother comes in the mosque. He says, oh, astaghfirullah, I wanted to pray, and I'm late. Can you pray with me, Akhi? What do you do? And why? You guys don't remember?
I don't, but I'm gonna say this part. You could pray with him, even though you already prayed. It'll be just like a sunnah for you, and it'll be his for him.
That's
Do we pray 2 rakats?
Why would you pray 2 rakats? This is say it's Fajr. I mean, this is Dhuhr. They say the imam led you in Dhuhr. You guys are done, and another brother comes to make Dhuhr, but he's late. Why would you pray 2 rakats? How many rakats is Dhuhr?
4.
So why would you pray 2?
You're correct. But I would pray with him, especially if he has, and I have the time, absolutely.
Okay, but tell me, why would you pray 2 rakats for Dhuhr?
Oh, no, I wouldn't. I don't know. I was remembering something where it was like pray 2 rakats. I'm not sure.
No, the only time you shorten the prayers is if you're traveling. You're not traveling.
Oh, okay.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Good job. Good job, Amina. That is the hadith. And good job, Brother Marard. That's why I was looking for these brothers. As Brother Marard said, you can pray with him if you want for him. It's obligatory. And for you, it's an act of charity. Exactly. Good job, Brother Marard. Good job. Exactly. You pray with him. So that way he can get the reward of praying in congregation. Because remember, a man's prayer is 25 times more superior praying in congregation at the mosque. So if you pray with him, he's getting that reward, and you are also, it's going to count as a charity for you. It's going to count as a extra charity for you. So you should go ahead and pray with the person. Everybody understand that? Now, what about this? If I was at home, could I do the same thing? Say, for example, I just made Dhuhr. So let's say Latifa comes to visit me. And she says, Layla, make Dhuhr with me. and I already made it. Can I do the same thing with her? What do y'all think?
Yes.
Yes, it's the same rule. Yes, I'll pray with you, and it's a charity for me. We get the reward of praying together, and then I get extra reward for as a charity. So I want you guys to remember, yes, you can pray with the person. You should do that because it'll count as an extra reward for you. Good job. And I think I got one more question from last week. Yeah, I do. What is this one? Okay. Let's say the imam is traveling and he comes to your mosque. He's getting ready to lead you in Isha. Okay. The imam leads you in Isha. He performs 2 rakats. When he's doing the second rakat and sitting on the floor, he says, continue with your prayer. And then he salams out. What do? Do you salam out with him? Or do you continue and complete your other 2 rakats? Which answer is correct? We talked about this last week.
I will say you continuing your prayer.
Exactly. That's the correct answer. That's the correct answer. If the imam is traveling, we follow the imam. But if the imam tells you to continue, then you can go ahead and continue and do your 2 rakats. Okay? Does everybody understand that? And we talked about that last week. Do you brothers understand that? Because that may happen to you. You may go to the mosque and the imam had just got back in from out of town and he's leading the prayer and he decides to shorten it, and as he's in that last rakat, he's sitting there, he'll say, continue your prayer. And then he'll, salam himself out. Don't salam out with him. You continue. Does everybody understand? And we went over the hadiths, whereas that happened with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions. Okay? Everything here is based on what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companions did. Okay, so that's what we discussed last week. Now today, I'm going to go over the last rules from the authentic hadiths on congregational prayer. And I'm going to answer that question about that broke down toilet paper fatwa that women and men can pray side by side, that women and men can pray head to butt because the Prophet didn't have a barrier. We're going to talk about that. Let's put the PowerPoint up here. And by the way, let me make my screen larger so you guys can take screenshots. Y'all see that? You can take screenshots of the PowerPoint. All right. We're going to start off speaking about the positioning of the imam and his followers. In other words, how does he stand and how does his followers stand? It is preferred for the person to stand to the right of the imam. If it's just 2 of you praying, you should stand to the right or on the right side of the imam. And if it's a group, then which means 2 of you, it's 3 of you. It's the imam and 2 other people. If it's the imam and 2 other people, then he should stand in the front and you stand behind him. You and the other person form a row behind him. Everybody got that? Where's the dalil? Here we go. We have this hadith. Jabir reports that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam stood to pray, and he came and stood on his left. The Prophet took him by his hand and led him around until he stood to his right. And then Jabir ibn Sakir came and stood on the left of the prophet. He put us both by our hands and pushed us back until we formed a row behind him. This hadith is Sahih Muslim. It's authentic. So I want all you new Muslims, all you new Shahadas to take heed here. Do y'all see how I'm making a statement? My statement was, it's preferred for you to stand to the right of the Imam if it's just you and the Imam. But if it's you and the Imam and someone else, you stand in a row. This is talking about men. You stand in a row behind him. This is for the men. I made that statement. Where's my dalil? I just gave you the clear evidence. The clear evidence is a hadith where the prophet clearly said what I'm saying. There's more. What about if it's a woman present? Here we go. Take notes. Take notes. Take notes. If a woman is present with the group, she is to stand in a row by herself behind the men. She is not, I repeat, she is not, I repeat again, she is not to join the men in their rows. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? If she did not stand in a separate row, the majority of the scholars say that her prayer may be valid, but still it's from the sunnah of the prophet that she stands behind. Now, these brothers say that the women and men used to pray together and no barrier. Well, here's what Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, said. He said, an orphan and I prayed behind the prophet in our home, and my mother prayed behind us. In another version, he said, the prophet put me and the orphan boy in a row behind him, and he put the woman behind us. This is a Bukhari and Muslim hadith. The women did not stand in the same row with the men. They did not stand in the same row with the young boys. Anas was a young boy. The orphan was a young boy. The prophet didn't put his wife in the row with the young boys. He had her stand behind them. Y'all see that? So I don't know where that fatwa gets that information from. What are they basing it on? They basing it on LGBTQ equality based on the United States Constitution so they can get some financing from the government, or are they basing it on the laws of Allah? Also, it is preferred for the imam to stand in the center of the row, and the people closest to him should be the people who are the most knowledgeable. We have this hadith from Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him. He said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, let the imam stand in the center and close the gaps in the rows. Y'all see that? And it's not the only one. Ibn Masud, may Allah be pleased with him, said, the Prophet said, let those who are most intelligent and most knowledgeable and calm be close to me. And then those who come after them next to them, and those who come after them next to them, and beware of the torment of the marketplace. This hadith is authentic too. It's Sahih Muslim. And this is something that I want you brothers to understand, because every Ramadan, a big fitna happens here in America. Every Ramadan, We have a group of uneducated brothers who like to perform Tarweeh prayer in Times Square. Last year, they said they were trying to make the Guinness Book of Records, which means they were showing off. And you know what Allah says about doing an action for him and some other reason. Well, here you can see this is another authentic hadith where the Prophet is telling us to beware of the streets, of standing in the streets, the marketplace. The prayer is supposed to be at the mosque. That's another hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said a man's prayer at the mosque is 25 times more rewarding than his prayer at his home or in the marketplace. That's Sahih Muslim too. So you brothers don't fall into the game that these brothers do for fame every Ramadan, doing Tarweeh prayer in the filthy streets of Times Square. You go to the mosque and perform Tarweeh behind the imam. As the Prophet said, beware of the tumult of the marketplace. Okay? You see, you learn so much. When you learn Islam based on the Quran and the authentic hadith, you see a lot of things that Muslims are doing today are wrong. And then that explains why Allah has sent war to us as a nation. Also, look at this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam loved that the immigrants and the Ansar stood next to him so that they would learn from him. And the wisdom behind having people close to the imam, who have knowledge, who are the most knowledgeable, is because they can correct him if he makes a mistake in his recitation. You know, that's why the Prophet would have Abu Bakr and Umar and them stand closest to him in the rows closest to him. So if he made a mistake or something or had to step out, it would be Abu Bakr who would step up. Okay? Now we get to the nitty-gritty. Did the Prophet Muhammad pray without a barrier with the women? Let's take a look. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam placed the men in front of the young boys, and the women were behind the young boys. So what was the barrier? The barrier between the men and the women in the Prophet's times was the human body, the young boys. The young boys like Anas, okay? The young boys, they were the barrier between the women and men. Where's my dalil? Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, said that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also said the best roles for the men are the first rows. The worst roles for them are the last rows. The best rows for the women are the last rows, and the worst for them are the front rows. The last rows are best for the women because they are further away from the men, as against the first rows that are nearest to men's. Y'all understand that? So when these brothers tell you that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed and led the women and men in prayer and they had no barrier, that's not true. They didn't have a wall because this was the 6th century. They didn't use a curtain. This was the 6th century. And he didn't have to have a wall. He didn't have to have a curtain because he used the human body, the young boys. And there's also the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, where Aisha radiallahu anha tells us the Prophet would place the men in front, then the young boys behind them, and then we women would stand behind them. And the men would not get up until we women left The women had a door and they would leave after the prayer before the men would get up and rise from praying. So again, we have to be careful. We have to be extremely careful. I keep telling you guys, we're living in the days of fitting. You know, everybody is trying to blend in and be accepted by society. That's what's happening here in America. Oh, yeah. Ever since 9/11, you know, the religion has become watered down, sugar coated. It's trying to get the non-believers to accept us, to blend in, to be like them. No, we're supposed to be distinct. And the rules and regulations set by Allah and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam are for all times. They were not just for the 6th century. They're until the day of judgment. Remember, even when Jesus comes back, alayhi salam, Jesus will not come back as a prophet. He will come back as a ruler of the world, and he will reinstate the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that has become forgotten, that had become abandoned. So don't get it twisted, Muslims. For those 3 mosques in California, I don't know what's going on, but you ain't living the sunnah. And that's why I tell you people, be careful. Just because a person uses titles, don't make them what they are. Everybody claims to be Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'at. If you're Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'at, why are the women and men praying in the same row together? Why am I standing next to a dude, touching his arm? You know what the Prophet said about touching a person is not a mahram to you. You might as well stab yourself with a nail. And then for the other mosque, where the sisters are here, where they got the women praying head to butt with the men, behind the men, head to butt with all the perfume. Oh yeah, let me talk about that. I want all you new Shahada women to pay attention to Sister Layla Nashiba, the Wahhabi as they call me. Yeah, your Masjid said I was a Salafi Wahhabi. First of all, to be called a Wahhabi, that's a compliment. I wished I was like him. Oh God, that's a great compliment. Okay? Check this out. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, any woman that perfumes herself and goes to the masjid, none of her prayers will be accepted until she goes home and gives herself a complete ghusl, like she would give after having sexual relations with her husband. What's the source of that hadith? That's Sahih Muslim too. So you sisters putting on all that perfume, going to the mosque with your breasts hanging out, with your little abayas on. By the way, let's talk about this too. Oh yeah, you cannot wear belts. Whoever told you that you can wear a belt, they told you a lie. What's the point in wearing an overgarment if I'm going to tie a belt around my waist to show how big my girls are? So you got your belts on, showing how big your girls are with all that perfume on, and you standing next to a dude bumping, hey, that's not Islam. I don't know what. That masjid, y'all better turn around and walk out the door. Don't go back. Don't go back. I keep telling y'all, Islam is strange. They can call me a Salafi Wahhabi all they want to, but y'all see, whatever sticks and stones may break your bones, but names don't hurt you. These are the hadiths. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up. Okay? Let's keep it moving. There's more. Hold on. Let me make the screen big. Screenshot it. And when y'all go back to your masjids, tell the imam that Sister Layla didn't say it. These are all the hadiths. So was the prophet lying? Were the companions lying? Ask him. All right. We talked about straightening the roles and filling the gaps. And this is one of the signs of the last hour. A lot of you new shahadas, the brothers too, have told me how when you go to the mosque to pray and you get close to another brother, he pushes you away. These are the signs of the times. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that that's when what happened in this later generation. And that's when Islam will become distorted and messed up, and we won't be as a united ummah as we used to be. So it happens to all of us. But is it right? No. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, listen at this. Anas tells us the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would turn his face to us before he began the prayer. And he would say, be close to each other, stand close and straighten your roles. This is a Bukhari and Muslim hadith. So you know it's authentic. And also the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would say, make your roles straight, because the straightening of the roles is part of the completion of the prayer. Then we have this hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would straighten us in our roles, just like you would straighten an arrow, until he saw that we had learned from him. One day he saw a person with his chest sticking out. And the Prophet said, you better straighten your roles or Allah will cause differences amongst you. That's why we have so many differences today. Y'all see that? This is why, you go to some of these masjids. You got women leading the men in prayer. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right here in America. Women. A woman can't lead a man in prayer. Any woman who leads a man in prayer, that man's prayer is not accepted. We already went over that. Allah does not accept the prayer of any man who is led by a woman. But we got masajids here in America doing it. Okay? You got masajids that don't want you. Oh, you're African American, so you can't stand next to me. We push each other away. So that's why we don't get along. That's why there's differences amongst us. That's why we're cursing each other and calling each other bad names and slandering each other's character and stuff, because we won't even stand together to pray as we're supposed to. And you guys want to know why Allah sent this war? This war ain't going nowhere. This is the war against Islam. This is the greater signs of the last hour. It's happening. It's going to continue to spread until it hits us here in America too. Okay? Also, we have this hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, straighten your roles and put your shoulders close to each other and be gentle with each other and fill the gaps, because Shaitan passes through what is between you like a small sheep. We're supposed to stand close to close. Another hadith, complete the front row and then the ones after it. And if there is any incompletion, it should be in the last row. In other words, try to stand straight together, close the gaps. If there must be an opening, let it be the last row. Let's say, for example, you have some brothers who are disabled. They're in a wheelchair. The wheelchair brothers should be in the back. Or let's say that you have a brother who can't prostrate. The people that have to sit should sit in the back. or make a role to themselves. I'll never forget. Let me share this with you guys. This is one of the reasons why I personally, Layla Nashiba, I don't go to mosques. Because every time I go to a mosque, wallahi, it's always some fitting. Because the women are crazy. The last time I went to a mosque, no, this wasn't the last time I went, was when Dr. Jamali was here. That was really crazy. One time I went to the mosque. Me and my best friend. My best friend is the president of CARE. Sister Aisha. Me and Sister Aisha. It was before I had my knee surgery. Aisha couldn't sit or prostrate. And I couldn't sit nor prostrate because we both had knee issues. I know my dean. And Aisha knows her dean. We from the same community. We grew up together. We best friends. So when all the sisters lined up to pray, me and Aisha went to the back and we did our prayer standing. I don't sit when I pray. I stand and do my bowings and all that. And so does Aisha. So we made our role together in the back. And do you know, as we were praying, I could feel, you know how you can feel somebody staring at you? I could feel a bunch of eyes burning into me. So after we were done, the prayer was over. Me and Aisha got ready to walk away. About 5 women. I'm telling you, I ain't never seen it before. 5 women run up to us. Excuse us. You know, the Haram police. Excuse us. We want to know, sisters. They had niqabs on too. These are the niqabi Haram police. First of all, sisters, you know, y'all was down there in the back by y'allself and y'all broke the roll. Secondly, why come y'all was standing up? Y'all didn't do no prostration. She said, y'all prayer ain't accepted because you didn't prostrate. So me and Aisha stood there. They didn't know who she was, the president of CARE. They didn't know who I am, Layla Nashiba. But we stood there, let them have their piece. Then when they were done, Aisha looked at me because she know I'm a talker. And I said, well, first of all, we didn't break a roll because we followed the Sunnah of the Prophet. We stood in the back. We became the last row because we knew we wouldn't be able to bow and prostrate with you guys. Secondly, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, pray standing if you can't sit. Pray sitting if you can't stand. Pray lying down if you can't sit. I said the reason why she and I pray standing is because we both have total knee replacement surgeries and we can't sit nor can we prostrate. And then they went to say something else, and that's when my best friend said, and by the way, it was so nice to meet you. My name is Aisha so-and-so, and that's Sister Layla Nashiba. They went, oh, and then we walked away. So I'm telling you, you're going to come upon ignorant people who don't know the deen. They're going to come up to you as a new Muslim. You guys are new Muslims, and they're going to tell you, astaghfirullah, you're going to hell because you standing in the back by yourself, or you going to hell, you know, because you won't join this line over here with the men. You sisters are going to have to learn these hadiths. You sisters and brothers are going to have to memorize these hadiths because most Muslims today, they don't know this stuff. They don't know the Sunnah. All they know is what Sheikh Google told them. All they know is what Imam Hanafi told them. All they know is what Sheikh Come a Dime a Dozen told them. So y'all got to start memorizing this stuff. Islam is based on only two sources, the Quran and the Hadith, nothing else. Learn this stuff. That's why I'm a stickler to you guys about these Hadiths, and you guys won't memorize them. So you're supposed to stand shoulder to shoulder, ankle to ankle. Listen to this Hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever connects a roll, Allah will connect to you. Whoever cuts off a roll, Allah will cut off from you. So again, don't get angry when you see those people pushing away from you. Think about the reality. You're getting a reward. You tried to connect the roll. You tried to do the right thing by standing shoulder to shoulder, ankle to ankle. The fact that that brother or that sister pushed away from you, they cut the rope, and Allah will cut them. So don't let it make you angry. Also, a lot of people ask, why do we pray the way we pray? We pray the way we pray because this is how the angels pray. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to the companions and he said, why don't you make the rolls like the angels make their rolls when they stand before Allah? So the companions said, O Prophet of Allah, how do the angels make their rolls? He said they complete the first row and stand close together, side by side in that row. This hadith is authentic. And also, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about the reward for you brothers being the first to join a row. He said if the people knew what great blessings were in the call to prayer and in the first row, they would fight one another to get to that front row. They would fight one another to do that call. And this is for the men. I know that we have a couple of sisters here who said that they call the Adhan in their mosque. Let's talk about that for a minute. Oh, I got a bunch in here today. I keep telling you, sisters, ain't no female imams. You sisters got to give that up. Calling the Adhan, you're the imama, you were a minister before you converted to Islam. Y'all got to let that stuff go. Ain't no female ministers in Islam. All these hadiths about the virtues of the front row and congregational prayer and calling the Adhan applies to men, not women. Do you new shahadas get it? You can't teach yourself this religion. You have to learn from the people of knowledge. Don't send me these hadiths talking about the reward you are getting as a woman calling the Adhan in the mosque of all female mosques. This ain't the LGBTQ show, okay? Those hadiths are for the brothers. Women don't call the Adhan, men do. Women don't lead, men do. The Prophet Muhammad said any nation that appoints a woman as its leader will never succeed. It will perish. And you sisters who are new converts, I don't care what type of minister license you have. That's a license to hell in Islam. It ain't no women ministers here. So you sisters have to get over that. You new shahadas, and I have to just break it down. You either gonna submit to what Allah says. Why did you become Muslim if you're not gonna be a Muslim? Muslim means one who submits. You submit to the laws of Islam. You don't bring that Christianity crap into here. Subhanallah. I don't know how to make it simpler. Okay. But anyway, All these hadiths about the adhan, this is for the men, not the women. You know, if the men knew the blessings they would get for calling the adhan, they would fight for it. If they knew the reward of standing right behind the imam in the front lines, they would get the reward. A woman's reward, as we said in the other hadiths, are the back rows, further away from the men. Okay? So all these hadiths, and by the way, these are the hadiths that the sister sent to me, that the imamas sent me from the masjid that's all women in California, the all-female masajid. This is all for men. It ain't for you. And this hadith here, Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said that the Prophet said, Allah and his angels send down blessings upon those who pray on the right sides of the rows. Yes, this is an authentic hadith, but for those females ministers who don't understand that there are no female ministers in Islam, you know, this is not saying that you can lead people in prayer just because Aisha narrated this. Aisha was one of the wives of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. She was one of the first scholars of Islam. She wasn't talking about just women. She wasn't talking about women. She has a lot to say about how to pray, how to dress, what's lawful, what's not lawful for men and for women. But because you see a hadith with her name, that is not saying that you can be an imama. You sisters have to learn this religion. Okay? So all these hadiths about the first row, the second row, and all of that is for the men. The hadith that says the women get the reward in the back, that was for the women. And finally, before I end tonight, this is to answer Brother Edward's question. Brother Edward asked me, Sister Layla, when I'm praying at the mosque, sometimes it's crowded, especially on Fridays. If the imam doesn't have a microphone, or if the microphone is broke, we can't hear. So is there anything wrong with people repeating? Well, here's your answer. If some people cannot hear the imam, then it is preferred for one to repeat in a loud voice the imam's words for others to hear. Okay? But if there's a need, if there is no need because you have a microphone or the people can hear, then it would be an innovation. And all the scholars of this religion agree upon that. What does that mean? That all the companions agree upon that too.